Tēnā tātou, welcome to the Ordinary Council meeting of the 25th of June 2026. I'll invite Councillor O'Brien to open us with karakia.
Mōrena tātou, kia nui tātou, katohia te tohi anuk, katohia te tohi arangi, I tupu I ngā pū, ngā mōrena pū ki ngā wānanga ngā tauira. A tēnei te kimi no te rapu no I te taketake tahuru no nā rangi tū whakaia ki ari te uhi, wero tau mai te Māori, haumi e, hui e, kia ora tātou.
So welcome councillors, staff and members of the public, and especially want to welcome Ngati Whare to our chamber. Council and standing committee meetings are live streamed on the council's website and YouTube channel, and so public galleries attendees' presence implies your consent to being broadcast. Further information about live streaming protocols can be found on the council's website. Councillors, I'd like to note an administrative error in the agenda. The mana whakahono a Rohe a te runanga o Ngati Whare report does not appear in the table of contents, nor does the report name on the report itself, but the report is in the agenda on pages 20 to 26 and will be taken as the first report following the Mayoral Report. So it's just missing from the table of contents. And as we get to that item, I'll just remind you of the numbers, because as a result of that, the following report, the proposed fees and charges, is numbered differently in the table of contents than what it is in the agenda. But I'll just, as I say, I'll give you the page numbers as we get to those items. And staff apologise for this unexpected error and oversight regarding this. Health and safety matters in the case of an emergency follow the building wardens to the nearest exit, which I guess is over there. The meeting point is across the road at Peace Park. Bathroom facilities are located opposite the Chamber's foyer entrance. So we have an apology from Jesse Morgan Ranui, and I think that is also moved by Councillor Isles, seconded by Councillor James. Those in favour say aye. Opposed, carried. Thank you for that. Are there any acknowledgements or tributes members want to raise today? Take that as a no, thank you. Any conflicts of interest on any of the matters before us today? Take that as a no. There's no public participation today, so we'll move to the confirmation of minutes. So looking at the minutes of the Whakatane District Council ordinary meeting held on Thursday the 16th of April and Thursday 7th of May 2026 be confirmed as a true and correct record. Can I have a mover for that? Councillor Hamill, seconded Councillor O'Brien. Those in favour say aye. Opposed, carried. Thank you. Then we have a recommendation to Council regarding the Trust Horizon Light Up Whakatane Event Road Closure Amendment, asking that the Whakatane District Council approve the amendments to the temporary road closures for the Trust Horizon Light Up Whakatane event as detailed within section 8.3, pages 11 and 12 of the agenda. Is there any matters about that anyone wants to raise? In which case, moved by Councillor Isles, seconded Councillor Emmink. Those in favour say aye. Opposed, carried. Thank you, councillors. Now we move to the Standing and Joint Committee meeting minutes to receive the minutes from the following District Council standing committees. The Projects and Services Committee meeting of 2nd April 2026, the Unconfirmed Finance Performance and Risk Committee meeting 7th of May, and the Unconfirmed Eastern Bay of Plenty Joint Committee meeting 2nd of June 2026. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Emmink, seconded by Councillor O'Brien. Those in favour say aye. Opposed, carried. Thank you. We have some public excluded minutes from the Finance Performance and Risk Committee meeting on Thursday, 7th of May 2026. If there's any matters that anyone wishes to raise, we can move into public excluded, but otherwise we can receive those in public forum. So if there's no issues to be raised, could I have a mover for that? Deputy Mayor Dukes, seconded Councillor Hamill. Those in favour say aye. Opposed, carried. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. All right, now we move to the report section, and first up is the Mayor Report of June 2026, pages 13 to 18. And councillors, I'll take my report as read. If anyone has any questions or matters they wish to raise in relation to it, now's your time. So looks like no. So could I ask a mover to receive that report? Moved by Councillor Hamill, seconded by Councillor James. I saw him twitch. Those in favour say aye. Opposed, carried. Thank you, everyone. We now move to the second item, which is the mana whakahono Rohe te Ngati Whare. This is on page 20 to 26 of the agenda, and I'll invite Hone and Donna and Earl to come to the table. So if you'd like to welcome, and if you'd like to introduce the report, please.
Tēnā koe e tū mō tō karakia I whakatūwhera I tō tātou hui I tēnei ata a tēnā koe. Tēnā koutou o Koramatua, nā kai kaunihera, me nā kai mahi o te kaunihera a Rohe o Whakatāne. E mihi ana mātou o Toikotuia me te runanga o Ngati Whare, kia koutou I whakae mai I tautoko hoki, I te mana arohi nei rā te mihi. Atamari, good morning. Thank you, Mayor and Councillors, for your time today, and a warm welcome to Te Runanga o Ngati Whare, Deputy Chief Executive Earl Rewe, who has joined us today to present to the mana whakahono Rohe. Today I'm presenting a report seeking council approval for Whakatane District Council to enter into a mana whakahono Rohe agreement with Te Runanga o Ngati Whare. There are three purposes to today's presentation. One, to provide further clarity on the mana whakahono Rohe agreements. Two, to provide an opportunity for Earl to speak to the significance of this agreement from the perspective of Ngati Whare. And three, to seek council approval for Whakatane District to enter into a mana whakahono Rohe. Before handing over to Earl, I would like to acknowledge the work and commitment that has brought us to this point. So as councillors will recall, council first received a briefing on mana whakahono Rohe on 30th of July 2025, and that was followed by further recently with an update on the 27th of May this year. The draft agreement before you today follows the same short form mana whakahono Rohe agreement previously approved and signed by Council with Te Runanga o Ngati Whare, Ngati Manawa. While each agreement reflects the aspirations and priorities of the respective iwi, the overall framework remains consistent, and I just wanted to reiterate that. I'd also like to acknowledge that the Te Runanga o Ngati Whare Board has formally approved the draft agreement and supports progressing this relationship framework with Council. But this agreement is not simply a document. It reflects a shared commitment between Whakatane District Council and Te Runanga o Ngati Whare to strengthen our relationship, build understanding and create a clear pathway for working together on matters that are important to both of us. For Council, it provides certainty on how we engage, and for Ngati Whare, it provides confidence that their voice will be heard early and meaningfully. Most importantly, it reflects the value both parties place on a strong and enduring relationship. And I'm going to hand it over to Earl because I'm sure he has a lot more to say. Ngā mihi.
Thank you. Kia ora koutou. Koe ori i tōku ingoa mō Ngati Whare o tipuna kei te noa hau ki Minganui. As mentioned, I'm Deputy CE for Te Runanga o Ngati Whare. I'd like to offer apologies that Mary George is unable to be here this morning. I'd like to begin by setting the scene. My presentation, albeit verbal, is grounded in values and principles based relationship model. The Ngati Whare has with Whirinaki Te Puatāne, and through this demonstrate to you how the same principles can be used to underpin the Mana Whakahona Rohe agreement with Whakatane District Council. For Ngati Whare, Whirinaki is a place that's managed under legislation. But more than that, Whirinaki is where Ngati Whare invests in the future. Our people, the environment, and our shared understanding of kotahitanga, unity. And through a Ngati Whare lens, the purpose of Mana Whakahona Rohe agreement is to provide clarity around how we work together, i.e. under the Resource Management Act, particularly in relation to engagement and communication. In short, Ngati Whare feel the agreement being presented here today will strengthen the existing relationship we already have with Whakatane District Council. The presentation is broken down into 6 key points. 1, there's a key message. 2, strong relationships. 3, meaningful participation. 4, better informed decision making. 5, investing in the future. And 6, what this means for Council and Ngati Whare. And then there's a closing comment. The key message. The principles within Ngati Whare Mana Whakahona Rohe agreement are already being actively modelled through Ngati Whare's relationship with Whirinaki Te Puatāne. Mana Whakahona Rohe provides a framework that extends those same principles into our relationship with the Whakatane District Council. Strong relationships. Strong relationships are built through time and shared responsibility. For the Whirinaki, Ngati Whare are actively strengthening relationships between people and places. An example of this is our work with the local kura, where tamariki are learning about Whirinaki, its history, its significance, and their role to sustain it. It's about future-proofing, ensuring the next generation grows up with a relationship to Whirinaki that's grounded in strong principles. The same principles can be applied to our relationship with Whakatane District Council, reflected in Mana Whakahona Rohe. Through consistent engagement, mutual understanding, and a shared commitment to outcomes that matter. Meaningful participation, 3. Meaningful participation requires capability. Within Whirinaki, Ngati Whare is actively building that capability across our community. This includes developing skills in biodiversity monitoring, species management, restoration work, and other environmental practices. Whether it's kōkako, whio, kereru, pest control, or wider ecological restoration, the goal is the same, enabling Ngati Whare to actively participate in the care of the Ngāhere. Mana Whakahona Rohe reflects the same principle, that participation is most meaningful when people have the opportunity and support to contribute early and effectively. As an add-on, the nursery and the Department of Conservation have been working together over the last year to build that capability for nursery staff with an aim to equip them with the technical skills and the competencies to undertake conservation-related tasks. 4, better informed decision-making. Another key principle that exists between Ngati Whare and Whirinaki Te Puatāne is that better decisions are made when different knowledge /matauranga are brought together. In the Whirinaki, Ngati Whare holds generations of matauranga developed through lived experience, observation, and long-standing connections to the Ngāhere. Alongside this, we also work with scientists on monitoring, utilising their technical expertise and modern tools So when these knowledge systems are brought together early, the decision-making is strengthened. Issues are better understood and outcomes are more balanced. The same principles mentioned here applies within resource management and is supported through mana whakahono Rohe, where early engagement between Whakatane District Council and Ngati Whare allows for more informed and durable decisions. 5, investing in the future. A further example to this is the long-term investment Ngati Whare is making for future generations. Again, the Minginui Nursery is central to this work, providing employment for local whānau in seed sourcing, propagation, planting and restoration. Through this, practical knowledge is being built within the community, knowledge that supports whirinaki and is carried forward by our whānau in the ongoing care of the Ngāhere. These are core principles, mana whakahono Rohe, investing in long-term outcomes where today's decisions support the well-being of future generations. And where Whakatane District Council and Ngati Whare both have a role in ensuring the environment we inherit is strengthened for the future. 6, what this means for Council and Ngati Whare. When we bring the above examples together, a clear picture emerges. The mana whakahono Rohe agreement supports stronger relationships, meaningful participation, better informed decision-making and long-term thinking. These are principles that Ngati Whare already apply and practice for our relationship with Whirinaki Te Puatāne. What mana whakahono Rohe does is provide a structured way for those same principles to guide how Ngati Whare and Whakatane District Council work together. In closing, Ngati Whare values its relationship with Whakatane District Council and remains committed to working in partnership on matters that affect our rohe. Mana whakahono Rohe strengthens the relationship by providing greater clarity and certainty around how we work. In many ways, the principles within the agreement are already visible in Whirinaki Te Puatāne model, in the way we invest in relationships, capability, sharing knowledge, and planning for future generations. Mana whakahono Rohe provides a framework to extend those same principles into our relationship with Whakatane District Council. Thank you, and that brings an end to my presentation.
Ngā mihi nui kia koe, Earl. Thank you for sharing Ngati Whare's perspectives and for highlighting what this agreement means for your people and your relationship with our council. So just to reiterate, the recommendations that we are coming to you today is that the Whakatane District Council received the Mana Whakahono Rohe report and that the Whakatane District Council approves entering a Mana Whakahono Rohe with Te Runanga o Ngati Whare. We are open to your pātai.
Councillors, questions? Councillor Emmink.
It's more of a comment, if that's all right, Mr Chair. Kia ora, Earl, lovely to see you again, and thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, the comment really is this is just fantastic news. You know, we've already got one of these agreements with Ngāti Manawa, and it's a real delight to be able to have a similar agreement with Ngati Whare. Whirinaki Puatāne is got tremendous potential for the people and for helping economic development opportunities through there. So I couldn't be happier that we'll be working together going forward.
Good, thank you.
I have a question, and again, welcome to the council and welcome to our chamber, welcome to this whare. I also agree, I think this is a great development for us. I think what I've heard is that it kind of makes a statement about the relationship that exists. And I think all of us, when we went out to Minginui just recently really appreciated going out and seeing what Ngati Whare is doing. I think it was quite, people I think were quite inspired by what we saw out there. Are there ways that you think, are kind of immediate ways that you think our relationship could be strengthened?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, I guess the issue at the moment is the noise around us, and we're so engrossed. Our 8 to 5 job is dealing with the noise and after work too. So I think that's one of the issues that we're facing going forward. We don't know what that looks like going forward, and we don't know whether that noise is going to filter off or remain the same. So I think that's one of the issues. I guess it's just trying to prepare or understand how best to manage that noise. Cool. I don't know if that answered it, but yeah, that's part of what I'm feeling at the moment with the noise. Yeah.
I hear that, and I think one of the advantages of having an agreement like this is it perhaps helps to cut some of that down. Yeah.
Yes.
And gives some certainty for the future in terms of what our collective intentions are in terms of working together.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
Thank you. Councillor James.
I think it's a great initiative, and I thank you for coming, and I'm happy to move option 1.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor James, seconded by Councillor Boynton. Is there any debate? Councillor Boynton?
Tēnā rā koutou I tēnei ata, tēnā koutou o tēnā koe te ranatira o Ngati Whare. I hara mai nei ki te kōrero mō tēnei mana whakahono. Kei te whakaiti a tātou. Te mana o te mana whenua o Ngati Whare. I hara mai ki konei I tēnei chambers. Nā te mea, he tino hohonu te kaupapa o te whakapapa o Ngati Whare ki te whenua nōko nei. Ko tēnei pepa, he tohu iti mō tērā kaupapa. Ka huri au ki te reo pa. Just wanting to acknowledge Ngati Whare, and also to, yes, there is significance in this agreement today of the mana whakahono, but also too, it's an acknowledgement of the significance of Ngati Whare themselves and the many generations upon the whenua and the connection to whakapapa, of the resources and the relationships to the land and to the many people who have lived here for many generations. And I wasn't trying to dismiss the agreement in a sense, but I just, in the grand scheme of the relationships that have been there for a long time, not only the relationship with our whenua, with whakapapa, to Ngati Whare, but also to the surrounding histories and knowledge, but also to in our recent existence as a kaunihira in that whole period, and that of course totally support this agreement moving forward, and also to that it provides some way of calming the noise in this area. So at the moment we seem to have some form of checklist of things that need to be done to try and lessen the noise in our environments. But with that comes our ultimately the trust that has always existed. This is just one part of it, formalising that, and to always know that our relationships, our kanohi, our relationships that have lasted for such a long time is really what matters more than the noise that is happening now. And us agreeing to this and supporting this just further acknowledges how much further this relationship will continue with that amount of trust. So, ai tautau for this agreement. Kia ora.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor O'Brien.
O tira e tautu ana, ngā mihi kua mihi a koe ewa, ko tai mai koe ātina. Te tono mai a mātou, tēnei kaupapa a tino whakahirihira. O tira e tautu ana, e te rangatira tēnei kaupapa. O tira nei rā ngā mihi ki a koe. E whātai taku mō just tona. Page 21, first bullet point. Te runanga o Ngati. Ko wai te runanga o Ngati. Me whakatika. Kia ora ewa, thank you for coming to support us. Me whakatika tana.
I'll just make a very small contribution. I just want to thank, first of all, our Kultura team for the work that you do to bring these agreements before us and the relationships that you help us to foster. Kia koe Earl, tēnā koe, ngā mihi e tō iwi, ko Ngati Whare, e tō tūpuna whare pākau. Tēnā koutou. Those in favour say... time to vote. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Councillors will now move to fees and charges 2026-27 adoption, and we're on page numbers 27 to 114 of the agenda. Sarah and Sarah, welcome to the table.
Thank you. Morena tātou. So the purpose of this report is seeking council adoption of the fees and charges schedule for 26-27, effective 1 July 2026. So the schedule before you reflects the outcomes of the review, public consultation, hearings and deliberations that were held earlier this month. Key things to note following deliberations is that Kawerau and Opotiki residents have been added to the residents category for the one-off $20 fee for boat ramps. The 30-cent energy surcharge that went out for consultation has been embedded and applied to individual emission pricing, as well as 10 and 30 swim passes, so concession cards. The self-backfill fee has been removed, and all other proposed charges in the statement of proposal are included in the schedule. Additionally, the paper requests Council to approve the increase of waste management fees at resource recovery centres by an additional 10%, and this is due to the relocation of our landfill waste from 1st of July 2026, which is moving from Tirohia landfill near Pairoa to North Waikato regional landfill in Hampton Downs. An impact of this change is increased transport costs. So the recommendation today is for Council to adopt option 1, which include those amendments as discussed, and also reflects the 10% increase to waste management charges. I'll now pass back to the Chair for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, do we have any questions? Councillor Dennis.
Thank you. Obviously a lot of hard work when you look through and see all the bits that have been ruled out and added to and all that. Just in the recommendations under B, where it talks about the shower fee has been updated to clarify it doesn't include pool entry. And you probably answered this before, but I just want to rejig this. Does that mean that if you pay a normal entry fee to use the pools, the shower's free? Thank you. Apart from that, I think it's good.
Yes, that's correct.
Councillor Hamill.
Thank you for putting this together. Obviously, we've got an additional 10% for the waste management fees, which we've had a briefing that was regrettable, but probably not enough time for it to be included in the public consultation. And I agree that we should add some inflationary costs to that. But I just wondered, what do you think about public response to not having a consultation about that?
Thank you for the question. It's a good question. As was explained when we advised you of this change, just as a heads up, no surprises principle, the increase in costs for council came about after public consultation had commenced, so there wasn't an opportunity. Council does have discretion to adopt fees and charges without public consultation in any case, so there is no actual obligation, but you're right to raise the possible concern that the perception would be that, you know, we consulted and then this is subsequent to that change. Given that it is only 10% and it is only for the Resource Recovery Centre, not all of the targeted rate roadside collections, I don't think there'll be a strong pushback, and I think it's very logical that this is simply a charge that's been imposed quite late in the piece on council. If we don't recover it in the next year, we'll have to find another way to do that. So it's up to you today as council to decide whether to include it or not.
Thank you.
Councillors, any other questions? Matters that anyone wishes to raise? Councillor Isles? Okay. If there's no other questions, then we'll go to the recommendations. So this is that the proposed fees and charges schedule 26-27 for adoption be received, that we adopt the fees and charges schedule for 26-27, Appendix A, as outlined in option 1. Note the fees and charges schedule has been adjusted following deliberations and includes the following charges, which are itemised in your agenda there. That we note the dog control fees were adopted by council in April. Note that the airport fees received ministerial approval in May and are included, and that we delegate to the Chief Executive the authority to make minor changes, if required, to the fees and charges schedule prior to finalisation and publication on the council website. We have a move of Councillor Isles, seconded Councillor Hamill. Any debate? Councillor James?
You just, I'm happy with everything in that, but I don't agree with the boat ramp, so how are we going to deal with that vote?
Any advice? Thank you, Councillor. I think that probably the most logical solution would be to move an amendment to remove the boat ramp fees from the schedule, and then we can vote on that and then vote on the rest of it as amended or not amended.
Okay, I'm happy to move an amendment.
Move an amendment?
Yep.
So the amendment is to remove the boat ramp fees from the schedule.
Correct.
Seconder, Councillor Boynton. Would you like to contribute to, make a debating contribution?
Well, I don't think it's going to generate the money that we're anticipating, nor do I think it's going to be worth the effort to actually do it, and it's going to get a lot of people possibly offside. So it's, yeah. I just don't think it's going to be worth doing, and for the hassle, it's not worth the aggro. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, councillor. Any other contributions to the amendment? Debating on the amendments? Councillor Immink?
Yes, I even though initially I didn't support the boat ramp fee, on reflection, I am happy to support it. And the main reason is because of the monitoring and compliance capability that we're going to be able to have. I mean, like for the fishing fraternity, for example, we and they will be able to find out what are the visiting numbers for the tuna festival, for the ladies fishing competition. And I think aside from all the general recreational boating activities, I can see now that we've got additional information in here about what the monitoring might provide, I think it can actually probably be of good benefit for the wider community and to help plan events, not just with the fishing fraternity, but with others as well that are using the boat ramp. So the outriggers, you know, the kayakers and others. So yeah, I'm happy now with it, provided we get that information shared amongst ourselves and of course to the wider community.
Thank you, councillor. Any other contributions? Councillor, I'll just make a short contribution. I think, Councillor James, you've raised a really important point. When we look at these kinds of matters, we have to think really carefully about the net benefit. And it's easy to enter into arrangements which actually cost more or just the same as what you receive, and the net benefit is actually nil. So I think we do need to be really mindful of that. I do think in this case that the case is quite strong, and one of the reasons why I think is because the system that we've talked about putting in place generates a net benefit to us from every transaction. And so the question really is just how big it's going to be. We won't know 100% until we've had it in place, but I think it has potential to significantly assist our ports and harbour expenditure, which we know is already kind of struggling to be paid out of the income from the harbour fund. So I appreciate your concerns. I do think it's a good way to move forward. But yeah, appreciate the point that you've made. If there's no other contributions, councillors, you have a right of reply, I think. Is there a right of reply on an amendment? Yes. Yep, you have a right of reply.
No, well, my only reasoning really is that which is fair enough, we bring in a Pariki and Kaura as well as our locals. And I would say that's probably going to be 80 to 90% of the users. So a one-off, the first year we're going to get $20 from each, and then that's it. To me it's just illogical. We're not going to generate a lot of money, I can't see. But
Thank you, councillor. Okay, we'll move to the vote. So to be really clear, we're voting simply at this stage on the amendment to remove the boat ramp fees from the schedule. So if you're voting in favour, you're voting to remove the boat ramp fees. If you're voting against, you're voting to keep them in place. So those in favour say aye. Those against say no. No. Do you want your? So I think it's carried, but or it's fails. But if you want to have that recorded, we'll have a show of hands.
Yeah.
So show of hands for those in favour of the amendment. Show of hands for those in favour of the amendment to remove the boat ramp fees. It's Councillor James and Councillor Boynton. Those opposed. Got that? Thank you, everyone. That amendment fails. We now move to the substantive motion, which is to. So we're taking them all together, so I think we can continue to do that with that having failed.
It's the original, and you've already got a mover and a seconder, so you just go.
Yeah, so now I'm asking for contributions of debate to the entire piece. Councillor Emmink.
Yeah, no, thank you. I just wanted to kind of raise that initially the boat wash was one of those infrastructure pieces that we put in that didn't seem to have very big pickup. But now that we're getting regular reports, it is giving us an indication that the user pay system is actually working. So I think it might take longer than 1 year for all of, particularly with the boat ramp fees, for us to get meaningful data. But as long as we can keep that consistency up, I'm sure the community, while they're not keen on it at the moment, will come along. I'm not going to say willingly, but they'll come along and it will help us try to offset some of those ports and harbour fees.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other contributions? Councillor Boynton, followed by Councillor Hamill, then Councillor O'Brien.
I really wanted to acknowledge the staff and the work that they've done as well, because what's reflected here in the recommendations has taken to a lot of the consideration of, we had quite a bit of kōrero about these fees. And also just acknowledging the previous motion and reiterating the concerns that I had in terms of the cost of putting in the system of payment compared to the return was my concern. But happy that the feedback has been taken to support our whānau of Opotiki and Kawero as well. But also too throughout the other charges that the consideration has been taken for those, particularly to do with the ones from the cemetery and the South Bill. So just wanted to really acknowledge the mahi that was done there, and I'm grateful for the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hamill.
Thank you. I'm in support of option 1, and specifically to pass on the 10% increase in the waste management fees, because I think that we need to be making sure that the true cost of waste disposal is, the community is very aware of that, and also as bearing the brunt and seem to be incentivising waste minimisation. So also an area that potentially is going to become more and more costly as fuel costs increase. So I'm supportive of option 1.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor O'Brien.
Just like to say thank you to Alex and her team, and to you all for reconsidering and for hearing our concerns as far as the backfilling fee is concerned. And my offer is still there to help you as far as how we address the concerns as far as damaging resources. So I'm happy to help in that space in the future. But Alex and the team, thank you for that. And I'm really appreciative of that. And I support option 1. I'm here.
Thank you, Councillor. Other contributions? I'll just make a very short contribution then. Thank you, Councillor, for that generous offer of your time and energy on helping to address that matter. To talk all the comments of thanks to staff. This is a huge piece of work that we regularly have to undergo because we have to review these things, but it's a big piece of work and it takes a lot of careful work to get the right outcome. So thank you very much for bringing it to us and helping us through this process. I'll move now to the vote. Those in favour say aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, councillors. Thank you. Oops. The annual plan. So should we do this? Yeah, we can break it. Yeah. Right. Thank you. We're now dealing with the annual plan adoption, page 115 of the agenda. Welcome, Elliot. Ayla. All of you to the table. Thank you. Win your hands.
Well, good morning. Thanks for having us. So today's focus is to adopt the annual plan as part of our legislative requirement under the Local Government Act by 30 June. Based on the decision through council meetings and committee processes, the recommendation is that council adopt the annual plan with an average rates increase of 9.1%, with the rates to be set in the rates resolution paper. I also just want to take a quick moment to thank all those that have worked hard through this process to get us to the stage. It's definitely no easy task, so thank you for everyone involved. When we began the annual plan process, we identified cost increases of about 2.5% in rates revenue. That was above the 9.4% set in the long-term plan, so staff had to identify those initial savings first, back to 9.4%. From there, and from council direction, staff found an additional $2.29 million in savings, so that was equivalent to 2.9% of rates revenue, and so council made the decision to allocate 1.9% to the operating deficit to return to a balanced budget sooner, with a reduction in future borrowing costs, and also 0.7% to the establishing a managed contingency fund to manage any possible economic shocks, and then 0.3% to reducing the rates. You'll also note in today's report there is the need to approve the budget related to the Rex Morpeth and the licence plate recognition vehicle that have been confirmed by council through other committees and meetings that have been held. We would also like to identify that not adopting the annual plan is not recommended. It's because it would create significant implications for council, as we would not meet our legislative requirements. Before I hand back to the chair for questions, I will just hand over to the Chief Financial Officer, Paul Davidson, to make a brief comment.
Yeah, thanks, Elliot. Just to bring to the council's attention that our focus has been very much on getting all of the numbers right for adoption today. We are still working through some of the balance sheet processes, and to that extent there has been some minor changes made to the balance sheet numbers, not affecting rates, not affecting debt or anything like that. It's really just disclosure information. So those adjustments will be made, and I think Councillor Emick addressed one in terms of around the boat harbour. That was one that needs to actually be removed. So rest assured those changes will be made before the final document is completed. Thank you.
So I hand back to the chair for questions.
Thank you. Questions, councillors? Councillor Emmink.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everybody. I've got a couple of questions on the report and then a couple within the annual plan document, if that's all right. The first one is on the first page of the recommendations. So can you just explain what's happening with Rex Morpeth, and that are you saying that we need to bring borrowings that we were going to borrow next year, the following year, into the current year coming up?
Do you want me to go?
The 53 million I'm talking about.
Tēnā koutou. The previous long-term plan had that budget over a 4-year period. So we're just simply looking at, I guess traditionally we would have the first 3 years detail, the next year would then be worked through in the next long-term plan. The project is in a position where we can bring that entire budget for the functional upgrades into the previous year. So it's just moving what was already budgeted and bringing it forward due to the availability of the work being able to be done sooner.
Okay, and will that take advantage of current interest rates? Like, I'm just worried if we bring it into the next financial year, that whether it advantages or disadvantages us, whether we did it piecemeal. Like, I don't know why we have to bring the whole lot forward all at once.
Through the chair, the debt will remain for a lot longer and through the cycle of interest rate changes, so there might be some movement, but importantly, most of our borrowings are hedged anyway for a period out, so we won't see the full fluctuations that passed on as we have hedged those borrowings. So it's not a very good answer. But, in short, the answer is no, there won't be a significant impact in terms of the timing of it, in terms of our interest rates.
All right, thank you for that. Our next question is on page 117. Still on the Rex Morpeth. That middle paragraph, the review identified efficiencies, can I just have a simpler explanation of what you're talking about there?
Oh, sorry, I was looking at the wrong one.
Because it's kind of talking about a different number.
Yeah, you mentioned 53 million in your last comment, but the 53 million relates to something else in the annual plan. The amount being brought forward is the 2.2 million, which is referenced in that second paragraph on page 117. And the advantage with bringing the $2.2 million forward was there was an ability to get some project efficiencies by doing a bigger group of projects together at the same time, as opposed to spreading them over multiple years.
Okay. All right, thank you for that.
Through the Chair, if I could just add one additional comment, which I should have made before, is that whilst the interest rate benefit may not be as big, the cost of construction benefit, because those costs will continue to go up, will be there.
Okay, thanks for that justification. Still on page 117, licence plate recognition. So just wanted some reassurance, because I think when we've had this discussion before, that the licence plate recognition system that we're going to go to is not only just cost recovery but revenue generating. Is that correct?
Very likely to be, yes. I can give you that assurance.
And when would we likely to see some of that stimulation?
Yeah, we're unlikely to be in a position to implement the licence plate recognition 1 July. It's more likely to be August or into September.
Okay.
I think we'll start to see the benefits of it very quickly after that.
All right, thank you. I'm happy to pause if there's other questions, because now I'm into the annual report.
Councillors, anyone want to? Councillor Dennis? I'll come back to you.
I have quite a few questions, so, but before I ask my question, I just want to acknowledge the fact that this only came out on Monday afternoon, so we really only had Tuesday to read it, so I'm a bit all over the place on it. But at the same time, I acknowledge the fact that for the staff, it must be really, really difficult to get it before I said earlier. So I just acknowledge the hardship on both sides, us trying to understand it in one day and you guys trying to actually get it across the line. Well, can I just talk about the very first part of 116, the operating deficit? It talks in the second line that this deficit partly reflects decisions made during periods such as COVID-19. And I really understand that during that period we agreed to put the thing over 6 years and all that. So given that, as we've now moved forward 3 or 4 years, isn't it time that we actually moved on from mainly saying it's because of COVID-19? Shouldn't we have developed efficiencies since then to actually reduce it a bit better? And I look down to the fact here that a couple of paragraphs down that we've shortened the repayment period from 25 to 10 years and all that sort of stuff. But I thought we were going to do it over 6 years, and now we're saying we've shortened it. So is that over 5 years because we've shortened it, or is it over 4 years and we will run out of the 4 years by now? So that's my first question.
Through the Chair, the reference back to the establishment of that deficit through the COVID period recognised that was as high as 12 million through that period. So the council has done significant inroads to that sense and is now looking at the end of this year being half of that or better. And the reason I say all better is because the intent is the money into the contingency fund may improve that position better than the 6 million that's currently forecast into that deficit. But to eliminate that deficit in 1 year would be a massive increase in rates.
And that's why we all agreed to put it over 6 years, and that the actual general public voted unanimously for that. Yep.
Correct. In terms of the length of period that the borrowing is paid back over, we can certainly bring that back into the long-term plan. But again, it will be a balance of our debt versus the cost onto rates. So it has reduced down to the 10-year period. The quantum is also reducing. So each year, even as though it's over that period, the amount will be less. So there is significant benefit of continuing to actually pay down that deficit. And once we move through the next financial year, and we've got a position on where and how much of that contingency will be able to be applied to the deficit, again, we'll bring that back in terms of decisions to actually whether we can accelerate that time period further.
I see on page 118, we talk about the 50-something million dollars. The 32.57 million of that is to pay back existing loans that have come due. So part of this next question is, if we need to pay back 32.57 million, what's the figure of the figure of the amount of the loan that's come due? Is it more? In other words, that we may have paid some off, or some may be retired permanently, or are we just floating on to the same 32 million? Because at some stage, some of the loans you took out, during the Manatar debris flow and all that were 20 years long, must be coming to an end. And so the amount of loans that have come to an end, and now we're repaying, we have to take out more loans of 32.5 million to re-loan. Have we paid any off, or is this just continual?
Well, we have, but the way our borrowing program doesn't work at a project level. Our borrowing program works at per the Treasury policy in terms of banding, in terms of the length of our borrowing, and that dictates. So we'll take we'll borrow say 30 million, for example. That will cover all of those projects, and that will then be hedged to be refinanced in say 3 up to 5 years' time or beyond, depending on those Treasury policy bandings. So it's not a project-specific borrowing program.
So it's like revolving credit.
Exactly right, and that refinances and the way our Treasury policy is structured is to basically mitigate any risk in terms of interest rate fluctuation.
Yep.
But the reality of hedging is you win and lose with hedging.
Yep.
We take a balanced approach that looks to give certainty of cost and take advantage of interest rate markets, but not be reckless in terms of putting a whole lot of money, for example, floating, and then the interest rate goes up. So it's very much dictated under that policy.
So the other part of that one sentence is that we now need to borrow a further 20.43 million. So is that, I remember 4 or 5 weeks ago we talked about the deficit within just OPEX, and obviously is that deficit that our annual spend is 20 million more than our annual income through rates and derivatives, etc. like that. Is that what that 20.43 million is?
Yeah, there's some variations to that, but as a whole, that's the additional borrowing for the additional capital that we're...
For 1 year.
Yeah, that we're not receiving through rates or development contributions or any other mechanism, or subsidies from NZTA, for example.
So if I remember 3 or 4 weeks ago and I asked this question, it was 22 million, wasn't it? So this means you've actually managed to recover 2 million of it.
No, I think we're talking two different things. That was to do with the capital subsidies.
No, it was this OPEX one. Okay, so are you worried about the fact that we're borrowing 20 million a year just to cover our day-to-day business? And is that sustainable?
No, we're not covering 20 million to cover our day-to-day business. We're borrowing 20 million to contribute to the investment of a $60 million capital program.
So that again?
So our capital program in the annual plan is set at $60 million.
Yeah.
This is the borrowing that's required to fund that, in addition to the other revenue that comes in. So it's not covering, this is not...
So your interest on your CapEx is paid off by OPEX?
Correct. Correct, except for the balanced budget difference that we've got. The bulk of it is related to our capital program.
So are you able to differentiate between that which is used of your OPEX to pay off your capital borrowings as compared to paying for services?
The fact that we've got running a $6 million balanced budget deficit would be the component of that additional borrowing that relates to operations. The rest will relate to the capital program investment.
Thank you. So that actually is part of your whole long-term revolving credit.
There's a few variations around
That's part of your
depreciation.
long-term hedging and revolving credit is that continual interest payments which comes out of OPEX to pay for your capital projects.
We might need to take some of that offline in terms of go through there's quite a lot to unpick in that, because depreciation is the other thing that actually confuses that conversation. So,
like the depreciation on the roading that we just redid our massive depreciation.
Yeah, and that's right. So I think that's the other thing to note is that through the balanced budget, we're also recovering the additional depreciation from the previous revaluation of last year that we have to fund. So that's...
So what you can say is a lot of that 20.4 million is a paper figure rather than actually a cash deficit.
Which number,
the
sorry?
depreciation, etc., like that, which is in some financial circles regarded as a paper figure rather than a cash in hand figure.
Well, the depreciation, effectively, the funding of depreciation reduces our debt. And the intention is if we get that 100% right in terms of the timing of replacement of assets, our debt comes down over the retirement of the asset, we replace it, it goes back. That's the perfect scenario.
Yep, understand.
Yep.
Okay, I'll leave it at that at the moment and maybe come back a bit later if that's all right.
No.
No, okay. Councillor O'Brien, were you indicating? I wasn't sure. Okay, thank you. In which case, we'll come back to Councillor Imink.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to check that I'm now in the annual plan document, if there was no other questions relating to the report. Okay, page 150, thank you. And my question is, when we look at the variance of 3 million odd in the targeted rates, I was surprised to see, or just need some explanation on why there is that 3 million variance on the targeted rates, where I would have thought they would not have been a rate that we're not collecting, unless I've misinterpreted that.
So through the chair, that variance column refers against the long-term plan, and in the long-term plan there were some assumptions made around the waste targeted rate for things like additional landfill cost and waste levy, and as you know, we've also moved some of the targeted rate from reduced it because of the waste levy. So that's why that variation is showing is that it's against the long-term plan and the bulk of it is against the weight.
Okay.
The waste rate.
All right, thank you for that. And now I'm on page 167 of the agenda. And I think you just mentioned earlier this being the investment for the boat harbour, that shouldn't be there, is that correct?
So that has now been amended, that number will come out
So
in the 27 year.
So what does that do to our position on the long-term plan?
So the 3 million will show a zero on the contribution to the boat harbour. The other side of it, for the purpose of this, will be against debt, but we'll bring that final report to council.
All right, thank you. And now I'm on page 168, and just wanted to check, are the short-term entitlements, which seem high, is that high, or is that consistent across the organisation, or what should we be doing to minimise that?
Chief Executive might want to comment as well, but we are focused as an executive on sort of managing that liability.
Is that holiday? It's holidays.
Correct.
And
It's long service leave and annual leave effectively is what that represents. So, and it's, I wouldn't say it's high, but we are, as an executive, conscious of managing high leave balances for a number of reasons. One, in terms of, the health and welfare of staff to make sure they get a break, but also in terms of that cost does go up each year while that liability sits there.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And I just had a comment, but it's not a debate thing.
Go ahead.
Is this going to be the new look of the annual plan? Because it doesn't seem to read as fluid as previous plans.
Yes. Through the chair, no. I think it's been quite a challenge to produce the document in the time frame, and the final format will be more consistent with what you've seen in the past.
Thank you.
Councillor Dennis.
This is just a really easy one, just for the benefit of people who are concerned that our rates are too high. When we planned our last long-term plan, what was the original figure that we had planned to be the rate rise this year to cover the deficit?
So the figure was 9.4. The actual financial strategy limit was 13%.
Wasn't 11%? It was just 9.4, wasn't it?
Just for clarity, so at 9.4, however, when we did the first draft of the annual plan, our number was in excess of 11%, and
Yes.
we looked for savings to bring that back
Yeah,
down.
that's
So
what I
was-
meant. So right at the very beginning, when we did our long-term plan, it was meant to be 11 point something percent
It
this
was
year.
meant to be 9.4, but when we updated for update of costs and projects and things for the annual plan year, that was actually 11.5, I think it was. There was 2 million of savings found at that point to bring it to 9.4, and a further 2 million has been saved on top of that.
Thank you.
Councillor Emmink.
Beg your pardon, I did have one other question. Page 181, just looking at the joint venture, the last sentence, for jointly controlled operations, the council recognise its investment in Whakatane Airport as an investment, but no longer consolidates 50% of the income and expenses. Just wanted to get some clarification. What did that mean?
I might just see if Julie can come and answer that one.
Hi, thanks for that. Previously, we had accounted for 50% in the income and 50% in the expenditure for the airport. We then switched to equity accounting under the accounting standards. We now treat it as an investment. So we move, even though we're paying the bills and getting the revenue, we take everything, all transactions for the airport out, and then we account for it as the investment, what was 50% of the surplus deficit. So that's produced as another set of accounts. It's an equity accounting. So you still get to see the result, but it's just further down on the statement of income and expenditure.
Okay, and so for the losses, does that get treated in the same way?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
No other questions, councillors? In which case, I'll move to the resolutions, and are you happy for me to take them as one? I'll go through them. So that the council receives the annual plan 26-27 adoption report, delegates to the chief executive to bring forward projects already approved in the long-term plan, subject to confirm they can be funded within the rates and debts amounts approved in the annual plan. The council approves the purchase and implementation of the licence plate recognition equipment. That the council approves the long-term plan year 4 funding allocation for the Rex Morpeth Hub, Rex Morpeth Recreational Hub Phase 1 functional upgrade program to be brought forward into the annual plan budget. That the council approves the borrowing of 53 million consistent with the borrowing levels required for the annual plan, including refinancing of existing borrowing. That the council adopts the following financial information, Appendix 2, based on the requirements of Schedule 10, Part 2 of the Local Government Act. Forecast financial statements for previous year, funding impact statement, rating base information, reserve funds, and that the Council adopts the annual plan 26-27 in accordance with Section 95 of the Local Government Act, with an average rates increase of 9.1%, and that the Council delegates to the Chief Executive the ability to make minor editorial changes to the annual plan, including design changes prior to its finalisation and publication on the Council website. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor O'Brien moves, Deputy Mayor Dukes seconds. Any debating contributions? Councillor Dennis, then Councillor Hamill.
Although I'll probably agree to this because we have to, I'm still gutted to see that some of these rate rises are really high. Marata, or let's go to Te Teke, is 15.3% and Marata is 11.8%. And I know it's all relative, but I think that because we keep persisting using percentages, I think it's really sad to see that those communities who can't afford much have got such high rate rises. But I know that's very little we can do.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hamill.
Thank you. Yeah, as Councillor Dennis says, we've got to no real choice, but I'm very happy to support option one. I just want to say thank you to the staff for looking for savings internally, and wherever possible, we've asked you to do that, and we're really mindful of getting this operating deficit down. I want to say I do approve of bringing forward that the budget to keep progressing our ex-Morpeth. We want to keep traction on that project, so thank you to staff for seeing that, and the community will benefit from that. But I just really wanted to say we keep driving towards this operating deficit. This is just a continuum, and we can step it up into the next year.
Councillor Isles.
Thank you, Mayor Nandor. I will, with reluctance, accept the annual plan. Again, I've fought hard to try and keep that rate down, bearing in mind the cost of living, the fuel crisis that we're confronted with, and the high deprivation, and the ability of some of our senior ratepayers' ability to be able to continually meet these increased rates. I would like to have seen more of the 1.9 go towards a rate reduction, and also the 0.7, which was put into contingency fund. I really would have thought, or would have hoped, that we could have put at least 2% of that towards a rate reduction. Be that as it may, I will accept the annual plan, but with reluctance. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor James.
Yeah, I don't think there's any of us here in this room that are happy with 9.1, but that is what it is. Unfortunately, Councillor Dennis has sort of raised about the different segments, some of them 11%, 12% and higher. To me, there is a worry here that we are rural, farming, commercial, industrial, they all have got higher rate increases, and to me, we're hitting the people, we're hitting the ratepayers who are generating all the funds for the rest of the community. So I think we've got to really look, and I think it would come out in the long-term plan where we look at the rating differential again, because I don't think we've got the differentials set up properly. But in saying that, I don't think we've got any way around going the way we are. To me, the important thing is getting the operating deficit down as fast as we can. If we don't do that, we're always going to be voting for higher increases. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Boynton.
This is debate, is it?
Yeah, debate.
Kia ora koutou. Anō, just mihi to our staff again for the amount of work that they've done. As I've said before in many of these hui, the The funding model for local government is broken, and it has been broken for such a long time. We know the mamae that our ratepayers have and have had. We are amidst the largest reform in local government in the last 30, 40 years. And that has to be acknowledged because our staff are not only doing this normal, business as usual mahi of the annual plan, but they are also taking on another triple or double amount of work that is unfunded mandates from these reforms, which is a huge cost to our ratepayers. Our whānau still have to pay for that cost, and it's not necessarily a cost that is identified in things like the annual plan. It's just seen as operational costs. And as our annual plan has shown for quite some time, we have a deficit in our operational costs that we have to cover. The solutions that are being put forward at the moment on the other factors around that's going to impact our annual plan and how our ability to get a rate down are all factors that partly council doesn't have control over. And that makes things very, very difficult because what our ratepayers see is us having control over what impacts their daily lives, and especially when it comes to the costs that are impacting them, like Councillor Isles has identified in the cost of living crisis. So I will be supporting this annual plan because it's the best that we can do in the circumstances that we have. And it also doesn't mean that we do not care about our ratepayers at all. When I first came into local government, knowing what it's like to struggle as a solo mum that had been on the DPB, when I first learnt about the finances and trying to understand how council works, I started looking at the finances and going, oh my God, council's just like a solo mum on the DPB. There's never enough money. You're always having to hustle, you're always having to look for what is going to cover the next bill. How am I going to do this? How am I going to look after my kids? How am I going to look after my ratepayers? All of their needs. And there's still never enough money. And you just have to hustle. And the baby daddy, who's the Crown, sometimes he's nice and he gives some money and sometimes he's not. And we have to hustle him too to try and make some changes that ensures that we look after everybody. So I just wanted to acknowledge the mahi that the staff have done, and also to our ratepayers, and acknowledge the journey that they are going through at the moment with us as a council, and also with this reform. Ngā mihi.
Thank you, Councillor. I've lost track of my speaking order. My apologies. So I'm going to go to Councillor Emmink, then Councillor Whittaker. And was there anyone else indicating? Okay.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for the team. Like, this is sixth annual plan I've been involved with, and you never walk through that door and feel really happy with what we've settled on. And I guess really in one way, just to the wider community, just because rates capping might be coming does not mean that your everyday expenses are going to decline or your rates are going to decline. They're just going to look different. And between the waters and your rates, the new entity, you're never going to be saving anymore. So it's pretty sad, but yeah, I do hope the wider community doesn't think that we go through that door with a high five, because it's absolutely not what we do. Thank you.
Councillor Whittaker.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm a bit reluctant to support it. I would have liked to see a lower rate coming in, because I think there are a lot of people out there hurting, a lot of renters out there hurting, or they're going to hurt a lot more because their rents will go up. And I would like to see council really make some concerted efforts to actually reduce the operating sort of budget that they operate in. I think there is fat in the system, and it can be found, and we can reduce our rates in the future.
Thank you, Councillor. Well, I'll make a small contribution then. The first one I'd say is, like other councillors have said, people are struggling in the community, and people are struggling to pay the bills in what has been a massively inflationary environment for some time now. And so, yes, we're always concerned when we have to put the rates up further, acknowledging that we face an even greater inflationary environment than what households do, because the kinds of activities that we're engaged in actually are, the rate of inflation is above the CPI. So we're struggling as an organisation, just as households are, to pay the bills in the face of those bills going up massively. And so in that context, I have to say, while no one wants to see the rates go up by 9.1%, I think as an organisation, we've done an extraordinary job of getting on top of rates increases. As we've heard, the long-term plan projected 9.4 for this year. Looking at the annual plan, the original bill, just to do the same thing, just to deal with the inflation that was in front of us and the increased costs we were facing, we were looking at that going up to 11%. And I want to commend our staff, who've done an amazing job at finding cost savings. And I want to commend our councillors as well, who've given the leadership to do that, and also have made some really prudent decisions, I think, with what we do with those cost savings. So staff found savings of over 2 million to bring that down to the original long-term plan projection of 9.4, have found further savings, and we brought it down to 9.1. But in addition, what we've done, and this is where I thank councillors, we've decided to apply those savings to our operating deficit. And that was a tough thing to do, because people are struggling and people want to see the rates rise come down quite a bit. So it's a tough decision, but it was a prudent decision, because what it meant was we're not locking in further rates increases in the future by maintaining an operating deficit and operating deficit debt, but we're actually trying to get on top of that and create a better picture for our ratepayers and our organisation in the, not even the long term actually, we're talking about the medium term. So I want to thank everyone for that work. And I think we've done, to collectively, staff and councillors working together really well, we've actually come to a really good outcome. Doesn't look, yes, it's still more higher than what we'd like, but given the context in which we're operating, I think we've come to a really good outcome. So I want to thank everyone for that. I know people say that we can find further, just cut all the staff. I see on social media, cut all the staff, sack everyone. And then the same people complaining that things don't get done in time, and often the same people saying they want us to do more of this and more of that and more of the other. And so, and I get that, because it's hard to understand what goes on in local government if you're not here. But there isn't a lot of fat in the system. Right now, we're struggling to do business as usual because we've frozen our staff numbers, and we've got a massive increased workload, as Councillor Boyton said, from the reform that's coming at us. And so, I think our staff are doing incredibly well to keep delivering what they're delivering in the face of the constraints that we're all collectively under. So, of course, in a couple of years, who knows what we're going to be looking like, because everything's going to change. But I think in the meantime, what we're trying to do is to make the best, most prudent decisions that we can for our communities and keep delivering good outcomes for our communities. And I think we're doing a pretty good damn job, actually. Kia ora, that's me. And if there's no further contributions, we'll move to the vote. We've got to move and second. We move to the vote. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much, everyone. Councillors, so we've got a question before us. We can have a break now. We've got two, probably not too massive items in front of us. We can make a sprint for the finish, see if we can finish by 11, or we can take a break now and come back. And it's in your hands. What would you rather do? Yeah, okay, let's take a break for 15. So back at 22, please. Tēnā tātou, welcome back everyone to the council meeting of 25th of June. We now move to the next item of business, which is the rates resolution 2627, and we have Emlyn at the table.
No, we don't, Your Worship. I'm just sitting at the table.
Let's rewind it.
I could probably make it up, but it's not my paper.
We have Justin at the table. Kia ora, welcome.
Through the chair, if I just introduce the paper, and Justin's here as the rates manager for any questions on the paper. I always describe this as not a terribly exciting paper, but the most important paper that we adopt, because it does actually reflect all the decisions in the annual plan, and gives us the ability to move forward with the rating process for the 27 financial year. So the numbers that you see in the paper reflect what is in the funding impact statements in the annual plan, and really just take any questions.
And just remind everyone, we're on page 208 of the agenda. Councillors? Yeah, I think we're just moving straight into questions, yeah. Unless you wanted to make any introductory comments, Justin?
Just basically, we've obviously adopted the 9.1% increase in the figures that are in it. The other part for adoption would be around the actual dates for the rates to be set, the arrears, which are the, sorry, anyway.
Just stays on.
Cool. It's been a while since I've been down, apologies. Just looking at the dates that the rates are to be set for, the payment dates and the arrears, penalties and the normal 2.5% discount are the other areas for adoption in there, but nothing different from prior years. If anyone has any.
Thank you. So, councillors' questions? Councillor Emming?
I do put my hand up very slowly because I am happy for other people to start the questioning. Good morning. Hi, Justin and Emlyn to the table. I'm on page 210. Thank you. Community board rates. I guess my question is, when do the community boards, or when does discussion ever get had about the value of the community boards? And, like, for example, if I was in Murupara and I'm paying $64 on my rates bill versus 27 odd for Whakatane or Hopi, I would, for $5,000 in discretionary grant spending, like a huge proportion of that goes on staff to manage the community board. And if I was a Murupara, I would like to have a conversation about whether I'd rather have that $60 off my rates bill, or, you know, doing a mural in Murupara. And so when does that discussion ever get had?
Through you, Chair. It turns out it is me. So we'll be having that conversation through the representation review that will kick off in September around what the democratic makeup is of the district and what value you get from the different forums that you've got in place and what options you've got to deliver that governance across the district.
But this is already going forward for the next year, isn't it?
It is, yes.
I think this has happened in previous years. It kind of comes, we sort of rubber stamp it, but I don't think we've ever had a combined community board meetings where we've had a bit of a deep dive into, the value and the community wishes. So I just really wanted to raise that, like same with Tani Atua. Yeah.
Thank you. It's a really good point. I've got a supplementary from Councillor Dennis and also from Councillor Isles. So I'll go to Councillor Dennis first. But I think it's an important point to raise, and we do have to look for the opportunity to have that conversation. Councillor Dennis?
I remember about 18 years ago when I first got on the community board at Rangataiki, that once every 3 years, the community boards were asked if they're happy with the amount of discretionary funds they had, if they wanted more, they wanted less. And part of that, I think, is, I notice from my own community board at the moment that people aren't applying like they used to, and you actually probably, if the community board wanted to, not us, that they might want to reduce it a bit to lessen that amount. And so I'm wondering why we haven't had that discussion for a while on the community board level.
Councillor Oz?
Thank you. Excuse me, I heard what the Chief Executive was just saying to you. It comes up, the remuneration or representation review. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem to filter down to that level of community boards, members, and I try to get across to community board members what the impact is on your individual rates. And I think it's a conversation that, although we can have it at community board level, as elected members, it is up to us to then make the call. And you're right, you've got the high cost per capita in Murupara and likewise in the Taniatua. So it's something that we really do have to look at, well, not look at, but actually action, because it can't keep on at this rate.
Thank you, Councillor. So what I'm going to suggest, at the risk of adding more work towards the end of this year, because we've already got a huge amount of work on, and this conversation is going to be superseded by the simplifying local government reforms as well,
Yes.
because that's going to require a whole reevaluation of what representation looks like. Nevertheless, I think it is useful to have a proper conversation. So I think we probably need to give a bit of thought to how we address the representation review in the context of simplifying local government, but also in the context of involving community boards in some of these conversations. So let's park that for now, because this isn't really the place for that conversation, but let's ensure that we come back to it and give it a proper consideration. Thank you, everyone. Councillor Emmett, did you have other questions? No. Do other councillors have any questions? Looks like no, in which case I'll move to the resolution. The resolution being that the rates resolution for the period commencing 1st of July 26 and ending 30 June 27 be received. That the Whakatane District Council set the rates set out as follows in section 4.1 to 4.9 of this report under the Local Government Rating Act 2002 on all rating units in the district for the financial year commencing on 1st of July 2026 and ending 30th of June 27, based on the annual plan rating requirement within the funding impact statement of an average increase of 9.1% net of growth increase to the rates requirement, and that the Whakatane District Council set the due dates for the payment of the rates and the penalties for unpaid rates as set out in sections 4.10, 4.11 and 4.12 of the report, and that the Whakatane District Council set the discount for prompt payment as set out in section 4.13 of the report. Could I have a mover for that? Deputy Mayor Jukes, seconded by Councillor James. Is there any debate? Councillor Jukes, Deputy Mayor Jukes.
Thank you. I will be supporting the recommendations, but I did just want to say that to be consistent, I don't agree with the UAGC at 20%. I haven't since it was first introduced, so I just wanted to maintain that I still don't, and I look forward to being able to rediscuss it as part of our long-term plan process. But I will support them.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Other contributions? Councillor Dennis?
On page 214, where it talks about the fixed amount for water connections and per cubic metre of water, you've included every town here, like Whakatane, Hopi, Edgecombe, Marata, Taniatua, that. We're actually not charged for our water yet by metre, so is that happening? I just find it interesting that it's going in here, but it's actually not happening. I thought we were still to make that decision, or has that been made for us?
I'll allow that as a question of clarification.
It has been in there previously, and we always denote the different towns that are in there, but I believe there's a body of work still going around the Three Waters equalisation process, so that will carry into that one, Councillor Dennis.
So that won't go on the rates until?
Sorry?
So that won't go into But this is all about our rates and how we're going to charge, isn't it? So how's that working? If you've actually included that in here and we're going to pass it, and yet we're actually not there yet. Waimana, Ruatoki.
For what?
For office, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, we're part of budget, Tanya, to all schemes. Sorry, maybe I've misunderstood the question. Could you repeat it?
I can't hear you, sorry.
Sorry, maybe I've misunderstood the question. Could you repeat it?
On page 214,
Yeah.
you've got in here that the rate you're going to charge each of these people for, or these districts, for having a water connection, and then per unit, how much we're metered by. And you've included Marata, Waimana and all those, of which we aren't metered at the moment.
So the unmetered ones won't attract a metered charge, they'll just have a fixed charge?
Yeah, they'll just have a fixed charge, is
Yeah.
what he's saying.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
at this stage, but again, that'll be reviewed through the local waters done well.
Okay, thank you.
Other contributions, councillors? Councillor Whitaker?
Thank you. My question's on page 2.
Sorry, we've actually come to the end of questions quite some time ago. This is now in debate. And so I did allow one question of clarification, but I'm not going to go back into questions. We've already finished that section. We're in debate now. It's been moved and seconded. We're now in debate. Councillor Emmink?
Yeah, thank you. Mine is just on page 214 as well, just about the waste.
Sorry, we've finished questions of clarification.
Oh, no, I'm making a suggestion or comment.
Okay, my apologies.
This is like waste management. I was really pleased to hear the other day when we did our waste management workshop that I think Whakatane Council is one of 2 in the country that do curbside green waste recycling. And I was just wondering if that begs an opportunity to actually promote that, because in the past when we've talked to other council people and they talk about how they manage their waste, they're amazed that we do it. So I just think it's a good news opportunity overall as they're doing their education on waste management.
Thank you, Councillor. My apologies. Any other contributions? In which case, we'll move to the vote. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Emily.
He contributed.
We'll move to the last item on today's agenda, which is the policy on reimbursements, allowances and the remuneration of elected members. And I'll invite Charisse to the table to talk to this report.
Morena tātou. Thank you, Mayor Nandor. So this report brings the updated policy on the reimbursements, allowances and the remuneration of elected members, so after a full review. You may have known the report previously known as the Elected Members Remuneration Related Policy, and that was last adopted in March 2024. So the policy is governed by the Members Determination Act as well as Council's Sensitive Expenditure Policy, and the following few key areas were included in the review. It's the structure and the layout of the policy was made consistent with Council's policy templates. So it's a different order in how you will read the provisions that's set out. The determination and the sensitive expenditure policy, we've outlined the certain sections that apply to the determination that's governed, and we have not a lot of power to be able to make any adjustments around that, and then also the sections that apply to the sensitive expenditure policy. We've included the new provision around the home security allowance system that came through the members' determination in 2025, and a framework's been built into that sets out how the criteria and being able to apply for that system is enabled. I'd like to also note that the Remuneration Authority has sent out an updated members' determination 2 days ago, and so there's a couple of minor changes that I would propose we include into this policy. It focuses on the mileage rate aligning with the inland revenue the clarification that GSD is actually inclusive, and the home security system allowance, they've now removed the residency requirement, but councils can still apply that at discretion. I'd further like to note an adjustment to the wording that's set in section 5 of the policy, specifically 5.3.3. It is the type and standard of lunch provided under refreshments and catering, and it's to remove the specifics that's sectioned out there, and so I'll read to you what I would like, we propose it be worded. Lunch provided with simple, modest and fit for purpose as intended to support the efficient conduct of meetings. The nature and scale of any catering will reflect the duration and context of the meeting, and all catering will be applied consistently and in accordance with sensitive expenditure policy. So if you have a look under that section, it currently sets out the type of refreshments, and we're just removing that. With those changes, I would like to propose rewording to recommendation 2, that council adopts the updated policy of reimbursements, allowances and remuneration of elected members, and delegate to the chief executive the ability to make those minor changes noted today prior to the policy finalisation and publication on council's website. Thank you.
Thank you, Charisse. Any questions? Councillor Hamill?
I've got a couple of questions. Page 231, I think it's 222. It's more of a suggestion actually, that we've got, it's recommended where possible councillors should carpool, and I'll suggest that we also should include a statement or a sentence around prioritising use of electric vehicles or low emitting vehicles. For instance, the mayor's car, when which we try to do anyway, but just formalising that we use a low emitting vehicle if we can. So it's just a suggestion. And then I'm not too sure what page it's on, but it's a question of clarification for professional development for councillors or elected members. Specifically around the ability for elected members to have some funding rolled over. My understanding was that there was an ability to roll over CPD allowance, but this document says it's not, so I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes, thank you, Councillor, through you, Mayor. We did, in the current policy, have, initially, 2 policies back, we did have that it wasn't able to roll over, but we did adjust that to be able to roll over within the 3-term training period. However, my understanding is that based on how the rates and allocation of these funding through long-term plan work is that it's not able to carry it over.
Okay, so that, just on that, because it's, so for instance, councillors or elected members in this term really have no ability to do any CPD for this financial year, and you can't do it before your election. So there's a whole chunk of a year potentially out of a training where we're not at limited ability to use our CPD.
So through you, Chair, so the only, just so I'm clear, sorry, the only time that you couldn't go through professional development would be in a pre-election period.
Okay, thank you. I think I'll leave it there. The other thing I wanted to clarify was whether conferences are classed as CPD. I think from this policy they're not.
So, yeah, through you, Chair. The conferences is at the discretion of the Mayor and does not fall under the discretion option for elected members' training and professional development.
Thank you.
So I've got Deputy Mayor Jukes on next, and then Councillor Boynton, then Councillor Imink. I suspect Councillor Boynton and possibly Councillor Imink are supplementaries to that. Are you happy? Oh, yours is so. Okay, well, we'll just keep that order then. So,
I would have been happy for
yeah.
mine is also.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I necessarily agree with that, and I would like to confirm with Paul to say that you cannot carry that over. I don't think, from my financial experience, that that's actually correct. If we if we approve it to be one total to be spread, because for example, Leslie was able to do Institute of Directors training and use her whole budget of 9,000, but that means the rest of us can't do anything like that if we're only getting 3,000 a year. So I think we would like that to be clarified, and we would certainly like it to be accumulated over that 3-year period.
Through the chair, probably need to come back to you in terms of a complete answer. Normally, certainly for staff, we don't look to carry forward, and our normal situations, we don't carry forward OPEX unless there's a very distinct reason for it. Obviously, it's your decision effectively in terms of that. So, but that's certainly the staff position is not to carry forward where we can.
I was just going to add that, yeah, it doesn't get carried forward with staff. But it does say, well, we're just trying to align the two, but it does say that the amount made available in any financial year may be varied in council funding decisions. So what would happen is if you wanted as a group to carry forward professional development, then we'd have to go through a carry forward process, which we're required to do for OPEX, and that would be a decision of council in an annual plan paper.
If I may, and this might assist some of the questions that elected members do have, the budget that's allocated under the councillors' training and professional development sits as a portion of approximately, for this financial year, let's say for instance 30,000, and it's not that all elected members in that financial year will be wanting to take that discretionary training. So the ability is for some elected members in that financial year to have some of that funds available to have training, and then the subsequent year have that apply to other elected members. So it still sits within that overall bucket of funds and isn't specific to all elected members.
Thank you for that.
But it is your policy, so if you want to change it, this is a draft. If you want to change it, you're more than welcome. And to Councillor Hamill's point, you know, it doesn't fit perfectly. It's all around New Zealand. It's the same thing. The election happens, particularly for new councillors. They're not kind of geared around thinking about their first year's professional development, so it runs out quite quickly in that first year. That's a common thing that happens. Then you have the election in the following year. The election period sort of creeps into the end of that last year of the triennium. So, you know, it's not a perfect system, but we can't change when elections happen. But yeah, it is your policy.
Thank you. Councillor Boynton?
Yes, I'd be supportive of a change to allow it to roll over, because in booking for professional development training, particularly if you want to go for a specific course that supports, you know, the Directors Institute, a lot of the time, many of those are booked out, so you have to book way ahead of time. So if you wanted to do that, obviously in the first instance, you're going to only be eligible for 3,000 and have to come up with the 6,000 yourself for the course, because you're only allowed to take it in that year. But also too, you may not be able to get into those professional development courses till the following year, meaning that by default you've lost 1 year of that training. So you've missed out, you've cut off because of the policy that doesn't allow it to roll over, and that, you know, that makes it, we're very different to an employee, because we don't have the same, I guess, access to employment or employee legislation that allows us to have, you know, certain coverage around professional development training and what we're entitled to. And as Mayor Nandor identified, we have a very limited time frame, or I think it was Stephen identified, we have a limited time frame in which we're capable of being able to use the full effect of our professional development. So I would be very supportive of ensuring that it can roll over. Otherwise, we effectively only have a window of a third of that professional development training, depending on circumstances. And I don't think that's right. We don't we're not paid very much in our remuneration as it is. We also don't have access to KiwiSaver, we don't have access to the other means that a normal employee would have. So, yes, I would support a change, thank you.
Councillor Emmink?
This is a question. So why did that decision get made without coming to talk to councillors first? Because you were already ahead of the budget anyway, and I would have thought $30,000 rollover a year for councillor professional development was minuscule in the scheme of things. So why were we just had a chit chat about it before the policy was developed? The change was done.
So through you, Chair, the changes in the policy was really to remove those specific rates as well. So it talks about the budget that's been made available through annual plan and long-term plan. The 30 odd that's been set aside, my understanding is through the last long-term plan. So we haven't had a review in any of that and is something that we can build into the future long-term plan. But we've just wanted to make sure that that wasn't specific to a particular portion, and that we can actually build on that based on what the decision is for that allocation through future plans.
I don't think that answered my question about why we talked to about it beforehand. It was a quick, instant, what do you think moment.
Through you, Chair, it was just an oversight on my behalf. It got caught up into as an exec team, we're just carrying a lot more discipline about carry forwards, and it's just been lumped in with that, so apologies. As I said, we can unpick it now in this forum, but it was an oversight on my behalf.
So, councillors, I think what I propose, if there's general agreement, is that we remove that paragraph relating to the carry forwards, and then when we adopt it with that amendment, with also the amendment that Charisse mentioned earlier, or two changes actually that she suggested. So if people are happy with that as a way forward. Are there any questions on any other matters? Councillor Emmink.
It's still on the same matter, but thank you for that. So if we attend local government conferences, so the travel and the accommodation and the conference fees, does that all get included as part of our professional development?
Through you, Chair, no, those are actually separate. So it's the training and professional development that would purchase the actual educational part of it, and then there is travel and expenses, which is a separate allocation for accommodation and travel.
So more of us could, in theory, go to local government conferences.
If I could talk to that, there is a limited budget. And so, and I'm quite happy to talk with councillors about it. We do need to ration it somewhat. It's not an unlimited budget. So what I've been trying to do is make sure everyone gets to attend some different things. So I'm trying to spread it across 3 years. But probably my oversight, I should probably just sit down with everyone and kind of go, look, this is what's coming over the next 3 years, and give a bit of people can kind of put their hands up for which bits might suit them best.
Okay, so just to confirm, the travel and accommodation is not part of professional development, but your attendance to a conference, if it was in Christchurch, is like the $1,500 to attend local government conference.
At the discretion of the Mayor in terms of that conference, because there's certain criteria around the training and the professional development that we've got set out in here that we're able to support. But yes, it's separate.
Okay, thank you. It's just always been a bit murky the last few years.
I'm going to, Councillor Hamill and then Deputy Mayor Jukes.
Just continuing on that conference, so for the staff, is that the same? Because often conferences are more for networking and relationships rather than actual on-the-ground learning. There's a line there. So is that the same for staff? Just out of interest, that conferences are counted as CPD?
Yes, we have a PD budget, and that is what staff use for conference attendance or any other course that they may want to do. Yeah, we don't have a separate budget for conferences.
Deputy Mayor Jukes.
Thank you. Mine is a different topic, different question. So if anyone else has got a question on that topic, I'm happy to wait, but no? Okay, cool.
You flashed out pretty good.
I'm on page 229E, and process for payment, it says members must seek approval before incurring expenses and submit an expense claim in the same month where possible. So my question is two parts. So first is, are we seeking approval from the Mayor? It doesn't say who we're seeking approval from.
I can potentially make that clearer in that section, but it is for any training and professional development where it is at the discretion of the Mayor's approval for those particular expenses.
I thought this, I read that as it's just if you incur expenses, not the actual approval of the training or development or anything. I thought that was I wasn't reading it as that, but like I was reading it, say I was going away and I had to buy my lunch.
I can correct that because in the application to apply for the reimbursement, it has got the approval process where it does go through to the Mayor. It goes through governance and then through to the Mayor, so you don't need to seek prior approval for that.
Sorry, that confused me.
So I will correct the wording because you do not need to seek prior approval before you apply for a reimbursement of any of the expenses, such as those meals.
Oh, good. Yes,
Because you would have had, chances are that you would have had approval from the Mayor to attend a particular course, and we will, staff will be booking those, I guess, booking the tickets and the expenses, such as the meals that will come separately that you will apply for through reimbursement, goes through an approval process. So you fill in the claim form that then will ultimately go to the Mayor for approval and sign off before it gets paid. So you don't need to submit prior.
Yeah. So then taking it away from, I've been approved to go away from a course or something, I meet a member of the public and I decided to shout them a coffee or something and I wanted to claim for that. That makes it a bit awkward with that whole seeking approval first type of thing, because you don't want to say, oh, hold on, I just have to ring the Mayor and see if I can get his approval to buy you a coffee. I'm just not sure that the must seek approval. What's that?
So to clarify,
look, it was just an example. I haven't made it in a claim since I've been here, so.
I can clarify. It is what is set out in the sensitive expenditure policy in terms of meals and the allowances and what you can actually claim back for. So provided that you know what's set out in the sensitive expenditure, you'll be entitled to seek reimbursement for those expenses without seeking approval prior.
Okay, thank you.
I think if this may or may not be helpful, but it seems to me, or the way I read it, is that there's things that are set out that clearly people can claim back for, in which case you just submit an expense claim and it will come through to me for approval. But there are sometimes matters which are not just regular things as set out in the sensitive expenditure, and so for example, I know sometimes people might want to claim expenses for travelling to meetings that are not part of normal council business, and in those examples you would need to come to me in advance and say, is this going to be approved? Because if it's attending community boards or things that you're doing as part of your delegated functions as a council, of course you can claim those things, but there may be things which where it's a bit of a line call whether it's council business or not council business, and so in those cases I would expect you to come to me for prior approval.
Great, thank you. And so with that, I will make sure that the section under the process for payment is clear in which it refers to, whether it is prior approval for a particular section within the actual policy.
Thank you, Charisse. Councillor Emmink.
Thank you. I'm on page 232, accommodation in, well, I don't think it's exceptional circumstances, asking for a friend. So if you're an elected member who lives an hour away, and we have a Wednesday briefing one day and a Thursday council meeting the next, are they able to request accommodation reimbursement? Because that would be cheaper than paying for the travel.
Through you, Mayor, yes, we have had instances where that's been considered, and we would just assess it based on the the needs and the discretion from the mayor and work with the councillor if that's required.
Okay, if that could actually be made clear to one of our elected members who might be shy about asking about these things, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Boynton.
Too much, mate. This is just on page 12 of 22, number 6, communication allowance. Can you just clarify if this is already paid to us as a sum in our remuneration?
It's proportioned and yes, already paid to you with your fortnightly remuneration cycle.
Supplementary, so that means that we don't claim for these?
No. It's different for community board members in that they have to apply because unlike councillors, they do not automatically get a device allocated to them unless they're a chairperson, and so the criteria for them is different for councillors, but it's automatically allocated into your fortnightly pay cycle.
Just supplementary again, do we need that clarified in the policy?
There is a section for community boards.
Oh, there
a
is,
little bit
for
further.
community boards?
For community boards and the communication allowances, and there is and I can find it, but there is a little clause that states that you're already getting that proportionally paid.
Okay, yeah, I see it identified there, the community board, so I was just trying to see the flow because it makes it think it's just about community board members, but okay. Thank you.
Councillor Hamill.
Just following on from there, I think we could include a sentence. It's quite clear for community board members the allowance will be pro-rata and paid. It's not as clear for the councillors.
Okay. Noted, thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Emming.
Thank you. I'm on 238 home security allowance. I just wanted, I understood though to be able to claim for home security cameras or systems is that you had to prove that you're at risk. Is that still the case?
No, it's not. We do have a section, bear with, I'll just find that.
Yeah.
As part of the determination anyway, isn't it? So.
It's set out, yeah. So essentially, we have just copied exactly what's set out in the members' determination, and the only discretion that we as council can use is whether it actually applies to a residence area if you live in the area or not.
Sorry, can you just say that again?
So the only discretionary change that a council has against what the members' determination is set out is whether a home security system allowance can apply to an individual that lives outside of the area, a resident.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's consistent with exactly what has been set out in the determination.
All right, thank you.
If there's no other questions of clarification or issues to raise, Councillor Boynton.
Can you, prior, you mentioned about changing the policy part around the rollover of training. Can you just restate what you advise would be removed, please?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'll just have to... I'm just trying to find the section. $240.
Section 11.
Thank you. Right, so page 240, section 11.1. Simply that the 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph down would be to remove the 4th paragraph down, so where it says discretionary professional development funding cannot be carried forward into future financial years. Any unused allocation will lapse at the end of the financial year, and I propose that we would just remove that.
And the second paragraph under 11 is saying.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yes, sorry, that's correct, yeah. So remove those two paragraphs. Councillor Emmink?
Thank you. On page 243, point 2, I hadn't clocked this in previous versions. So to sign off the mayor's expenses, it's an independent member of the Finance Committee. Have we been doing that? Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Councillor Hamill?
Just with a community board hat on, there's, I think it's section 12, we're talking about CPD to be discussed with chairs on a yearly basis. I guess this is a tension between, we don't operate in a yearly basis, we operate on a triennium basis as elected members, so we've got that tension here between trying to align with staff, and I get that we don't want carryovers, but we're not staff. And so I suggest, I think it's page 242, an annual training program will be developed in discussion with community board chairs. You really almost need to think about it as a triennium. What are we trying to achieve with our community board members? It doesn't work on a year-by-year basis. It's looking at them growing over a whole triennium. And so I think it's more of a 3-year discussion.
Noted, thank you, and we can include that for consideration.
Seems like there's no more questions. Thank you, councillors. So we'll move to the resolution, which is to that the council receives the draft policy on reimbursements, allowances and remuneration of elected members 2026 and adopts the updated policy on reimbursements, allowances and remuneration of elected members, subject to amendments discussed. And just to be moved by Councillor Dennis, seconded by Councillor Hamill. Thank you. Just to be clear, those amendments relate to the changes discussed around the food provided, around the PD changes, the expense reimbursements, the stuff that came from the Remuneration Authority, the 3-year point about the discussion with the community boards, and the communication allowance. Has that captured all of those? Cool. All right. Any debate? Those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Charisse. It's a lot of detailed work to work through this stuff. That brings us to the end of our council meeting. Before we finish, just want to thank you all for the great work. I think as councillors, I think we're all doing really good work, grappling with some hard issues, making some hard decisions. I want to thank you all for the work that you put into being councillors, because it is quite a commitment. I want to thank all of our staff for the great job we do. We're working together as one team, and I think it shows. So, kia ora. Deputy Mayor.
Just following on from that, because there were no questions or comments in regards to the Mayoral Report,
No.
I just think it's an opportune moment to thank you for all the time and effort that you're actually putting in, because you're doing an immense work out there in the public, and all of this extra workload in regards to the simplifying local government and all the other reforms is a lot more than what you would have signed up for, and you're doing a great job. So
thank you.
Yeah,
thank
time
you.
to acknowledge.
Really appreciate that.
Totally agree with that. Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
You are bringing a calm to the storm that we're in, and I think that's what helps a lot for people to keep moving forward. So thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, councillors. Really appreciate that kind feedback. Councillor O'Brien, could we ask you to close us with karakia?
Tino e te whone, ki whakakapi wa tata hui te lera, o tiraka inu e tata, kia tau ngā manaki tanga e te mea ngaro inu i tēnā, tēnā mata. Kia mai ai te uamu ki hiki. toi te kupu, toi te manaki, toi ngā tikanga ko ia, te whakarihia, he whakawātea. Haumi e, hui e,
Ai, ki e.
Kia ora.